Yeah.
You admit.
Well, do we want to admit Deb if she's in the room?
No, that's John, so I'm going to change the name. More, rename John. Then rename Deb. I'm talking aloud, so if anybody thinks I'm odd, please forgive me. Deb.
Kathy, we got John. Okay.
I changed John to his name, but it didn't. Name.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me, John?
No.
All right, hang on. Can you hear?
The thing went away and I couldn't bring it back up. So anyway, I had to do some work.
Okay, so you can hear me now?
Yes.
And Deb, can you say something?
Hi, everybody.
Can you hear Deb?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Whoop, whoop.
Hi.
We have audio today. This is amazing. I have two Johns. Oh, Kathy changed to John.
That's weird.
That's weird. All right, I'm fixing you, Kath. Rename.
What was that?
I'm fixing some names.
Oh, okay.
That's me. This Tyson is under Russell.
Okay.
Oh.
Is that you, Tyson?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
All right, I'll fix that too. You guys are testing the host because you know I don't normally do this. Okay. So we have host, Deb, John, nobody in the waiting room. All right.
So we still need Ed or Linda, right?
Yes.
To join.
To join.
Okay. I know Ed, I texted my group yesterday and everybody was able to attend except for yoga.
Perfect. So
But I knew that we had enough as of now to do our meeting. So we will just wait.
How many are required? 4?
5,
5. Okay.
yes, 5. I'm going to text Ed and just double check.
and who was the other one? Ed and then Linda. I'll text Linda.
Okay. I'm gonna text the group.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Morgan.
Texted Ed.
And I texted Linda.
Okay. Okay, Ed is just coming on right now.
Perfect.
Cool.
And then you can start.
And
Yes, I'll get you out.
And Christy, I'm a Y just since it's being recorded. Otherwise, I wouldn't bring it up. Not an IE, it's a Y.
Sorry, Cap, I'm out in the other room. I'm coming. I heard it. I'll fix you. All right, and we have Brian Richardson in the waiting room, so he'll be on, and Ed. So you have quorum and you
Great.
can start the meeting.
Okay. Ed.
You know,
Oh, that's great.
Ed, you're live for the party.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry about that image. I will take that off. That was my Halloween costume a few years ago. I was Rip Taylor.
Okay,
Don't apologize for that. It's amazing.
yeah,
Thank
it's
you,
awesome.
too. Thank you.
You know, some days we all need quirkiness or what have you, so it's all good.
Thanks. All right, sorry I'm late.
That's okay, it's all good. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We're going to officially start the meeting. With that, the first item on the agenda is to approve the revised minutes from March.
well, you'll have to call the order first and do a roll call and then note who's absent.
Okay, I'm going to do, call the meeting to order, and then I will start with the roll call. So starting with Kathy,
I'm here.
great. And then Tyson,
Yes, I'm here.
thank you. Ed,
Here.
thank you. John,
Yes, here.
great. And then Brian,
Present.
hi, thank you, everybody.
So you have all present except for Yoka and Mayor Watkins.
Okay, so all are present except for Yoga. She is, I knew of her absence.
Okay,
And-
so excused.
And then Linda, we did try to reach out to her.
Perfect.
Okay,
And then you would call for any changes to the agenda?
all right. Upon reviewing the agenda, does everybody have any changes to the agenda?
Hearing none.
No.
Okay, so do I have the approval to accept the minutes?
I will make
Aye.
a motion for you to accept the minutes as documented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
No, now you would ask all those in favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Hearing none, motion passes.
Hearing none, the motion passes.
And then on the agenda item is the next is your tourism fund financials, and I can speak to that for a moment.
Okay, you.
And that we are currently, this is as of May 31st. So we will see some June collections. We may come close to actually making budget at the end of the year. We have withheld pretty much all expenses with that approved visitor's guide and minimal. So we're down about 29% currently on revenue as compared to last year. So I'll be interested to see how June looks for you. Are there any questions currently on the financials?
I have a question. My understanding of the financial portion of the tourism board or committee gets its money entirely and exclusively from the transient taxes that are paid to the city. Is that correct?
That is correct. So the city receipts 100% and 70% goes to the tourism committee.
Okay.
Those transient taxes.
All right. Well, I don't know how everyone else is doing, but June has been, May has been really busy for me at least. So I think the numbers could be good.
Yeah, we had a really solid May here at Flanor as well. Yeah, higher than projected. So we were pretty excited about it.
That's really good news to see people out and about and coming back to us.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's been a lot of enthusiasm so far, right? Actually through April as well. April was good and May was great, and June and July are shaping up. I think people were really had a lot of pent up energy and maybe really needed to get out of the house, but they weren't maybe quite ready to get on an airplane. So they, Came out to wine country, which is nice.
That's nice to hear. Are you booked through June, Ed? Just as an example of what we might be doing for.
Pretty solid. I mean, there's a few little holes in it, but it's pretty booked up. June and July are both pretty full.
Nice to hear.
And we have Mayor Watkins that just joined us. I didn't catch her in the waiting room. Sorry, Mayor Watkins. On the next item, this came to my attention. This is an invoice from Travel Portland, but it's a different invoice. I hadn't seen it before. And apparently we did this last year. So I brought it forth. I didn't want to pay it without the blessing of the tourism committee. It looks more like it's generated for the Portland tourism industry, and it gives us a portal to view the convention calendar and partner directory and manage our Google listing. But it seems centered on Portland. I didn't know, Kathy, if you were familiar with this.
No, I mean, I'm familiar with it, but we have not participated in that while I was there. Just, I don't remember having, a real strong pro or con feeling about that one. I think that we just made other choices.
So I actually went and looked at the website and did not feel that it was maybe in our best interest to continue. Because when you deep dive into, when you actually get to Carlton area, it presents Yamhill and Carlton, and there wasn't actually a lot of what we are, I think, to what we offer. So I think there would need to be more information around what that presence is giving us. So I didn't have that warm and fuzzy feel that it was something that maybe we want to go forward with, that I would like to explore other options to maybe better spend our money elsewhere that would give us a better return on the dollar.
Yeah, we've never really partnered up with an association with Yamhill. In the past recent years, we've kind of piggybacked or partnered up with McMinnville just because of their volume and their very extensive budget for tourism. So we were able to see some results from that one. I think that's a little closer to home.
Yeah, I like the idea of targeting Portland. I don't like the idea of partnering with Yamhill because doesn't make any, there's no wine, like there's no tasting rooms. There's no reason for anyone to really go to Yamhill.
Agreed.
So I don't think that helps us either. But I like the idea of Portland, but yeah, I would agree that I don't know that this is money well spent. We could figure out something else to target Portland that's probably a little more effective.
Yeah, because you really had, when you went to the website, you had to do a few clicks just to get to our area. Once you clicked on the winery thing, then you had to select an area. And then when you got to our area, I didn't think there was a lot. There was only a couple of places to stay that they advertised for. And it wasn't anything other than the loft here in town. So I didn't see Ed's place. I didn't see Yoga's place. So with everyone's thoughts, you're welcome to take the time and look at the link yourself and give an opinion, or we can go ahead based upon what feedback we have and just go ahead and make a vote on whether or not we want to pay for this and resume our presence.
Do you have any feedback on what even kind of passed through we might have had? Any activity from that at all?
No feedback from the city.
This is my first awareness of it.
Maybe the city could reach out to the person who sent the invoice and ask him if they have some type of activity report for Carlton, and we can make a better decision. Would that be all right?
Yeah, that'd be great. Does that sound okay with everybody? Do some more research on it?
Yeah, I think it warrants that.
Yeah, I assume you've sent the link. I can take a look. It doesn't necessarily sound like it hits the nail on the head, but I haven't looked at it, so I wouldn't mind doing that.
Okay. I did not send a link out, but I can go back and pull up the link and send it out to everybody.
Okay.
Is everyone in agreement at this time that we will just do some more research and then we can vote on this next month? Is that how that would work?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. Then we have an agreement to do some more research and vote on this in our July meeting. Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay.
No,
Oh. Was that a no?
no. No
Nope.
more questions.
All right, then, Brian, would you be able to provide us with our social media activity report?
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. It's included in your packet, and I'll just talk through the elements here. We're staying on course per usual. Our Facebook followers are up to 7,154 people, and the focus of posts in the last month has really been about how gorgeous Carlton and countryside and downtown is this time of year, and how easy it is to drive here from Portland as a getaway. So we still continue to focus on more the local market and Portland market. We haven't moved to any sort of nationwide advertising yet. And in fact, we'll talk about that as well after this, that we should start talking about paid advertising in general for social, and coming up with an amount that I should be spending each month. So at the end of this quick overview, I think I would love to talk about that a little bit.
And when can we interject with questions, as we go, or for them to be at the end?
You can have a question now if you have one.
Ed,
It's moving.
Sorry.
did you have a question, Ed?
I didn't at
Okay.
this moment have a question. No, my kids just came home, so I'm relocating.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I put the drone up a couple times this month, and also have been out with my camera. So there was a lot of great Clover photography shots to capture. So much of the imagery that you see on there is I took this month myself. And then I'm also just been focusing on events like Mother's Day weekend. There were some events, Carlton Bakery. You're starting to see restaurants like Carlton and Coast really reopen and get popular again. So focusing on those as well. And then the website, I mean, it's going a little bananas right now. We're up about 300% year over year, which you would expect. COVID versus everyone's free or sort of
Very
free again.
nice.
So 2,815 users viewed 17,715 pages. So a lot of traffic on the website. And they're really looking at tasting room pages, accommodation page, restaurant page, shopping. So they're really planning their trip using this website as a resource, and continue to see the website really pay dividends for us over time, as it's really is the central area to see at a glance what the town has to offer across restaurants and accommodations and whatnot. Our traffic is over about 54% Oregon, and then the rest is out of state, with Washington and California being the next two states that are using the site the most. But we're starting to see an uptick in markets like Illinois and Virginia. So people that are starting to actually travel to Oregon for their trips. So any questions on the general overview?
No, that's
Nope.
great enough.
Okay, so I would like to touch on advertising dollars for social, because it's something that I would very easily be able to do on Facebook and Instagram. And I think it's a matter of the committee saying we are okay with $100 or $200 a month dedicated to what I would recommend Facebook and Instagram blended advertising. And those would be to generate traffic, more traffic to the website, but also just advertising campaigns that say exactly where we are in relation to Portland. This has always been an issue we've had for well, ever since I've been part of this committee, is that people in Portland still have no idea where Carlton is. It's always going to be our issue. Some of them have never heard of it. So
Yeah.
we need to continue to say we're 45 minutes or an hour. I mean, we could say 45 minutes on a good day from Portland, a quick drive through the country. Is your wine country utopia, or however we want to sum it up. But putting some sort of distance measure to it, making it an amazing drive, and if you go certain ways, and look at all that you can do in a weekend stay here. And I think if we just add a little bit more advertising budget, we would get a lot more eyeballs on those kind of posts.
So is this like an accessory expense to already base cost, or is it going to bump us up from 700, like up from our base cost every month, or can you just share?
Yeah, so none of it would land in my pocket as a result of that. It would be your 700 a month is just managing everything. It's managing the website, it's managing the ongoing social media, it's taking pictures regularly, and it's managing the advertising. But that dollar amount for management wouldn't change. Literally, this money would go to the corporate overlords at Facebook. So whatever you want to give to the corporations to get the people out here, that's what we're talking about. So $200 dedicated to Facebook or whatnot. To your question on billing, we could either have it set up to where it bills a city credit card directly for that, say $200 a month from Facebook, or you could have me cover the cost, and then I would include it in the invoice to Vinbound. So it might look like you're paying Vinbound more, but it's ultimately being shuffled over to Facebook.
Okay. Have you put any thoughts about how you would describe it in an ad to get people out here? You talked about it's a 45 to an hour drive, but what would be the attraction that you're thinking that maybe you might put in the ad to help, enhance that opportunity for us to get more clientele here?
Yeah, in the past, what we've done is generally 2 to 3 ads at a time. We target very specific demographic, people who like wine tasting, that are in the 30 to 65-year-old range, and who live in the Portland metro within a 30-minute radius. And then the actual topics generally are wine related. So the most tasting rooms per capita in the world. Great place to stay overnight and walk anywhere you like, or driving distance to 150 plus wineries. So I think that would continue to be my slant, unless there is a specific, we want to be known for something outside of that.
Okay. Christine, can you hear me? Yeah. I have a question. Would you be able to come here, please? I'm ready. Okay. So we're being proposed to consider spending advertising dollars towards Facebook and Instagram. But I know we have this other concern that we also have to address about those advertising outside of the city that a citizen made a complaint about.
We've had a couple of them questioning why our tourism dollars that are paid for by the city tourism is being spent on out of town wineries. It was in our Instagram feed, and they didn't say anything about Facebook. And we had 2 complaints on that in the last 6 months.
Okay. So are we paying advertising dollars to advertise outside to Portland?
No, it was
It's amongst 8 and others that are around here. I can address that if you want me to.
Yeah, so this has come up before.
Okay.
And then I'll let Brian talk to it, but I think one was the Abbey?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one was, I think that was the one they named. The other one I questioned it on it, but it has come before, and I think Kathy had brought it up before, and I don't think we ever landed on what to do.
Okay.
It's been an ongoing thing, and
they're 2 different, very
Brian
different
knows it
topics.
just as well as I do.
Yeah, we could also talk about this, but I would like to stay on topic with the advertising dollar cost just for a moment, because this is going to take us in a whole nother direction.
Okay.
But it is a good thing to talk about.
I have a question it's not a concern, it's a question. I've done some Facebook advertising in the past, and it is nice the way that you can dial in the demographics. You can choose the age and the gender and the interests, and you can even choose to narrow the audience to a specific location. Like you could pick a certain zip code, or you could pick a certain region of the country or whatever. I question whether or not the kind of people that are going to come out here and taste wine and go to restaurants are going to be using Instagram as much. And maybe it would be better, a toe in the water approach might be better to try to sort of focus on Facebook only to see what kind of results we get. If you can track those results, the Instagram crowd might be too young for this particular venue / activity. Do you not agree?
I disagree. I think that there's a lot of people. I mean, my mom and everyone, she loves Instagram. I don't think that there's as much of a demographic divide as it might seem between the two. If I was saying we should advertise on TikTok, that would be a different thing. But I think to your point, data speaks, and I would suggest what we do is we do a blended approach across both for a month, and then we can actually track this. So we can look at the website and see, okay, from our advertising campaigns, how much of the traffic came from Facebook and how much of the traffic came from Instagram. And that would be a great way to answer your question. We could say, okay, it looks like we spent equally across both areas. We're getting way more traffic from Facebook as a result of our dollars. And then we could, start paying a lot more into Facebook. So I would suggest,
fair enough.
Yeah, based on what we've done in the past, I've actually seen it to be about equal across the two. But absolutely, I mean, we'll pay attention to the data. If it seems like there's one trend or another, we'll chase that one.
Yeah.
And it might be a bookkeeping type of issue that Christy could answer, but it seems that if we could bill directly and not have to have you cover it, Brian, then it's just out of that advertising pools of funds. Is that right?
We can do that. The problem we run into that Brian and I struggled with is Facebook with that advertising and who sets it. It is so messed up. And now we still have previous mayors who originally started Visit Carlton's. He's still, every once in a while, his stuff comes through. And Facebook is not cooperative in cleaning that up. And Brian and I tried I guess, Brian, if you don't want to out of pocket it, maybe what we could do is say, okay, 500, you guys determine an amount. I'm just kind of giving you a figure, and then say, here's $500, kind of a prepay approach, so that you can you still do it yourself, Brian? Because I just saw an ad come through on Mayor Rake, ex-Mayor Rake's stuff the other day.
How can we not clean that up? I'm confused by that.
It is complicated. We have tried to figure it in the past. It's because the Facebook profiles are tied to specific admins, and the admins all have their own personal Facebook accounts. So I have my personal Brian account. Brian Rake had his personal account. Those are all tied to a personal Visit Carlton. And it's very complicated to restructure the Visit Carlton page to not be tied to those admin accounts and be an independent entity while still allowing me to have access to post things. It sounds like it should be easy, but it's not. And so what we found in the past is that it is easier for me to just build a city, cover the cost initially, and build a city for whatever amount was spent. And normally we would shoot for 200, and 1 month it might end up being at $202 or $196, kind of depending on how Facebook bills. That seemed to work well, but there were some auditing issues or concerns that came along with that. And that's why we were trying to figure out an alternative method. But generally, we're hitting some walls on that.
Well, I'm all for simplicity.
Well, I think I'd like, if you guys prefer, I'd prefer he go back. It just, we need at the time of the advertisement, a copy of the invoice at that point, and generate a check for the auditing. And I think that will solve the audit purpose.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to get too granular, but in my experience, the Facebook accounts typically have a funding source, and they have to have a funding source attached to them, whether it's a credit card or a PayPal account or whatever. So if you could go in there and clean those up, then Facebook can't bill you for anything if there's no funding source that's tied to the account. But again, that's just details. I don't think that's my business to discuss, but it seems like if somebody's got a billing source that they're authorized to use, that could be the way to fix it more easily than fixing who's the admin and who isn't.
Chris, well, I can have this conversation with you. It makes sense to Ed's point that you provide me with a credit card for the city that I put directly into that. But we'll have to figure out what makes sense for billing purposes. And
Okay. Sounds good.
So let's assume that we were able to figure all that out. Is there a number based on budget that I could start targeting that the committee is happy with?
Do you know how much flexibility we have, or?
You're doing okay on revenue. Your primary expense right now is VinBound, with just a few other little bills that come in. You would be safe, I think, at this point, maybe starting back up at that 200, so you can get some comparison data, and then see if you need to increase it if you feel that Facebook is being beneficial.
So Brian, would we really need to run that advertising for like 2 months to be able to do a comparable? So if we ran it for like July and then ran it for August, you'd have a comparable between those 2 months to see which ones were working best for us, or if the dollars spent were even well worth what we're trying to achieve.
I don't think the comparison should be month versus month. I think it should be ad versus ad. So I should run 2 at a time, and really just even within a month's time, we'll be able to say this one's generating more return. So what I would be able to do if you approved a $200 budget today is I could get something rolling pretty much immediately. And then at the next meeting, show what those 2 ads, what the creative looked like. So you'd have to trust me a bit on the creative. And I'd show you what the ads looked like and how they performed. And then at the next meeting, we could then adjust the wording of the ads moving forward, or add another one into the mix, or so on and so forth. But I think based on us only meeting once a month, that's the only way we could probably do it to get something out there as soon as possible.
Okay.
How does everyone feel about us doing 100 split for maybe a 6-month period, which would take us through fall harvest-ish? Because that's usually a pretty busy time. Slightly lesser amount, but longer period of time.
I mean, I don't think 200 sounds outrageous. I know how many impressions that's going to buy you, give or take, depending on the number, or depending on the amount of how the demographics are set up. But I'd be okay with either one. I think that though in the summer, people are looking to go somewhere, they're looking to travel. So it would be nice, and this again sounds self-serving, but it'd be nice if at least one of the ads was sort of an invitation to get away from your house, right? And I think that's what people are really desperate to do right now, somewhere to go. So maybe one of the ads could sort of be about, maybe you could stay here, you could come out here and visit us, and maybe then sort of cast a little spotlight on Carlton's accommodations page and get people to come out here and stay the night, eat at this restaurant, go to that winery, go to that tasting room. I'd love to see at least one ad be about getting out of the house in terms of a theme.
Sounds good.
And that's always been a kind of a general underlying theme we've had, is that one of the advantages we had over, say, Dundee was the ability to come here, taste wine all day, have a great accommodations, stay for breakfast the next day, and continue on. And so, and be able to park and walk. Walking is a big part of everything.
Drinking wine all day and driving around doesn't really,
Right.
not a great idea.
So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the dollar allotment, I don't know that it makes sense to skimp in summer and then try to increase in the fall and winter, because come fall and winter is our slow time anyway. So I think if we're going to do 200, we do that through the busy season to try to maximize, and then cut back when the slower season comes.
I would
Just
agree.
as a thought. I mean, got to make hay while the sun shines, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we can go month to month. Is that correct, Brian?
Oh yeah, it's whatever you guys determine, right? As
Yeah.
however you call this. Yep.
And if you start out with 200, you got 100 on Facebook, you got 100 on Instagram. And if at the end of the month you look at it and 70% of your traffic's coming from Facebook, then you can reallocate, right? You can go with 70% of your money on Facebook, 30 maybe on Instagram, and then you're properly allocated.
Yes.
And if it is 50-50, then you stick with that.
Okay, I'd like to take this to vote. I feel like everyone's had a lot of input regarding this. So who is in favor of advertising to do a comparison in Facebook and Instagram? I would say I'm open to a $200 budget, but please open if you have a different cost in mind.
So I think it's a money expenditure. You'll have to call for the vote, right? Or call for a motion.
Yeah.
and a
So,
second.
okay, so I call for a vote to advertise in Facebook and Instagram for $200 a month per month until we make a decision to change otherwise. Who's in favor?
We need-
Second.
I,
Okay, a second? Okay,
Aye.
all right. Any opposed? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Then that is
Motion carries.
motion carries. So Brian, we will accept and thank you for bringing that to our attention, that we'll start with the advertising $200 a month for Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, great. And I'll follow up with Christy on any billing issues. That's no problem. And then I'll have a report at next meeting.
Okay,
So topic one, do you want to get into the other one or do you?
yes, please, we can move along since we've got 20.
Yeah, it's
meeting.
this one's a tough one.
It's a tough one. Context is certain businesses outside of city limits are occasionally posted on social media, and they're also occasionally, or some of them have a listing on the website. And my quick take on it is that I try not to ever post anything on social media that is an accommodation that is outside of city limits, because that's the source of our money. And until the committee or the city could figure out a way of getting money from Abbey Road Farm or a different out of city limits accommodation, they shouldn't be on the website and they shouldn't be on social media. But there is currently a profile of Abbey Road Farm on the website that is a long legacy thing. And I'm more than happy to take it off the website until we come up with a way to make them and anyone else in city limits pay. So that's the lodging piece. And then the other piece is what happens when I sometimes post about a winery like Monk's Gate, who's just outside of city limits. And my take is, I think that's totally fine, because they're not the source of our revenue, and they're another great reason to come visit Carlton. You go to Resonance or Crest James or Monk's Gate. It's still bringing people into town. It's still money here, but they're not stepping on the toes of accommodations who are in town and paying for these services.
Okay,
and I agree with you on that. I think we would keep them on because they are bringing people into town. It's what we want to do anyway, and they're not stepping on anybody's toes, like you said, by not paying their transient fee.
so what is the person's exact issue that they think they wanted? They mentioned like, this is what I would like to see the results of. I mean, maybe we can find a happy medium here to say, okay, the advertising is going outside of it, but this is the return on it. So if you thought, what would you think you'd want a way to fix it? Or did we have a conversation with that person?
The
One of the
exact issue, I
things-
think, is Abbey Road Farm being on the website, unless I'm misunderstanding that.
No, you're correct.
Right, which the way to fix it is to drop them off. And that would be a very quick change for me to make. It just opens the door to saying to the committee, you do have an opportunity to be increasing your revenue from accommodations who are just outside of city limits if they have a way to pay into this. Or as the committee, you can say, nope, we are an in-city ordinance, like city limits organization, and that's it. We don't want them on Facebook. We don't want them on the website. And that's the standing discussion.
Has anybody talked to anybody at Abbey Road Winery? It's Abbey Road Winery, right?
So one of the things we previously discussed was to come up with a nominal figure that was somewhat akin to what our innkeepers pay today in their taxes, the value of dollar amount of that. I believe there was some some discussion with them. You know, if we went to Abbey Road Farms and said, hey, do you want to spend, you know, 100 or 150 a month to continue to remain on our page? But we need to make that equitable and figure out what our boundary really is then, right? I mean, we don't want to sort of sell ourselves short and cut out all these people. And I'm reminded of our goal and our mission statement in tourism is that we are to bring people from at least a 50-mile radius in. So we want to be inclusive of that.
Yeah,
so it's
in
a
our
little
in
bit
our
bigger than just them, right? We got to think about all the others out there.
in our past meetings, we got really close to making a call on this. And the offer on the table was, okay, if you have an address that says Carlton in it, you can be on the website, but if you're outside of city limits, you have to pay a dollar amount. And the problem was we never came up with that dollar amount, and so it never happened. And so there were some Brookside Retreat and Abbey Road Farm and one other B&B continue to be on the website in limbo, but they haven't paid up. And I do think that they should pay up, considering Abbey Road Farm got 468 views just last month on the website. That's they should, yeah.
And it is kind of unfair to innkeepers in town that do pay their transient tax, and it's a hell of a lot more than 150 a month.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful offering them a nominal fee because they are benefiting just as much as we are. And Abbey Road, if I'm not mistaken, has several rooms that they're renting. They're probably making a lot more money than most of us. So to have them pay like less than a fourth of what some of us are paying would be kind of just adding insult to injury at this point, I think. But
So what figure would you want to look at in that case?
I mean, it would require them to cooperate. They'd have to open their books a little bit. I mean, we pay a percentage. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, it should be across the board.
How could it be not less? How could it be less? How could it be more fair if they got to come up with a flat rate and we didn't? Just because they're outside of town, that incentivizes me to move outside of town.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I think one of the issues was they don't report that to us as a collectible transient room tax.
Right.
Others do. And so because we had that gap, a flat rate of some sort, basically an advertising dollar that they sent to be on the webpage was kind of the interim solution.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they only pay that, but some figure of what you guys might return to the city on a monthly rate. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe there's an average.
Sorry?
Has anybody talked to anybody at Abbey Road?
I think that there was a conversation a year
They-
or two back about it, but
Could they pay per click or per view?
If they agreed to that, I could give them 12 months of data and say that's roughly what it's going to look like over each month. It would be $468 in last month. I don't know how that jives with what you guys are spending on a month-to-month basis.
Well, they'd probably balk at that because there's no guarantee every click is going to convert. But I mean, at some point, 468 a month is going to be about right where they are, my ballpark estimate. But
And that's how many views they had too, right?
That's the number. Yeah, that's correct.
So 468 views and $468, so 1% match to match.
I mean, if they pay per view, to me, that makes some sense because to your point, Ed, if you're paying taxes, you're probably gonna end up paying more, in all honesty. But the city of Carlton is more heavily advertised within city limits. So I would assume like they're using other ways to advertise. They have more rooms. There's a lot of variables at play. But
Right.
as far as on the Carlton website, I think it favors the city of Carlton. And if they pay per view, then it's, they can't really say like, well, we're not getting much out of this. So, this is too much per month, or they can't really come back. I mean, then, if it's less than say what you're paying by a good amount and they're getting this business, then they're coming away ahead. So if it's per view, I don't know, to me, that feels, I have no idea what that market looks like and what that price would be.
Okay, well, it just sounds like there just needs to be a conversation with a decision maker out there, just to reopen this dialogue so we can understand where they're coming from and what, and share what our needs are, and to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
And
Is it protocol for a member to make a motion, or does a motion have to come from someone else?
A member can make a motion and put it on the floor.
All right, here's an idea. I make a motion that Abbey Road and the other companies that are currently advertised as accommodations that may or may not have a Carlton address, but do not reside in the city limits and are not under the purview of the city's transient tax. I make a motion that those be removed from the Carlton website immediately, and we make some effort to get them to come back in. I think that's the position from which you want to negotiate. You don't want to negotiate from a position of, hey, this is free for you right now, but can you pay for it? You know.
Well, I think we had talked about doing some kind of a formal letters, advising them that because of the tax situation, just to soften a little bit. I think if you rip it away from them and then say, so now you want to pay to be back on, it may leave a bad feeling. That was our hesitancy from doing it that way.
Have they paid anything for this up to now? I mean, they haven't paid for it yet, right?
No.
Yeah.
But I think the goal would be to try to get them to pay first. And then if they choose, you have 30 days to send us, X dollars to stay on the website. If you choose not to, then you're going to have to be removed. Just a thought. That was something we discussed previously.
But that's fine.
We need to figure out how we're gonna make them pay first.
Go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I think we need to figure out a way to, how they would pay and what would be fair. I think by maybe taking the average, what people in town are paying and average it out and say, this is what everybody else is, show them that this is what we're paying here. And I think it's fair that you equal at least the average amount, and that you have something to go off of to start off with, because first thing they're going to ask you, well, how much are you talking about pay? But we should have an answer for it first.
Yeah.
Going into it.
I like the idea of, if we were to consider them as a partner with what we're doing, that we have the same pricing as what our local people do. And I like the idea also what Kathy said about sending a letter. So we were to send a letter explaining to them what our intent is for pricing, and this is the effective date to start for the pricing. That gives them time to come back and have a conversation with us, or also we let them know that, at the end of this time frame, that we are going to remove you from our website. So it gives them the option, and it's a fair option to how we can, be professional about this.
Right, and be diplomatic about it and not push them away, but figure out a way to bring them into the revenue of the tourism committee and also benefit everybody.
Okay.
I mean, it behooves us to bring them in because we've already given them X amount of real estate for X amount of time for free.
Right.
So now if we remove them, it's almost been a waste over the, so it definitely behooves us to get them to pay, because then we can use that money elsewhere.
Well, you can show them too that this is the facts that, or what you're getting from this already, that the people in town have been paying for. And then it's only fair that you join in if you want to. If not, then we remove them.
Madam Chair, you do have a motion on the floor that you need to address and call for a second.
Okay. Thank you, Ed, for your motion, and I'd like to call for a second on the motion. Is there anybody in second who wants to go ahead and just?
If there's no second, then motion fails and is off the floor.
Okay.
So what was the question again?
What, John?
What was the question again?
So is there a second on the motion that Ed made to have them not reside and just remove them from the website at this time?
I think it sounds like everyone wants to send them a letter and give them some time and give them an opportunity to come into the fold. So
Okay,
that sounds like a good idea, I suppose.
I think that would be best.
so the second has been,
Is no second on the floor, motion fails.
okay, no second on the floor and the motion fails. With that, are we open? I make a motion to prepare a letter to send to the decision maker to let them know that we would like to have a fee-based matching what we currently pay for the folks here. And if they choose not to, or have a dialogue open to where if they don't want to participate any longer, then they would give that 30 days notice, we would remove them off the website. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Deb,
what
I
the
think
thing
maybe
is.
our city manager Shannon could help in the wording of that. And then Christy can probably prepare some figures on, you know, what those numbers might look like. That might be a good source of those to get that letter drafted.
Do I have,
And maybe instead of a motion, Madam Chair, is we bring a draft of that letter back to the committee for next month,
okay,
or give them time to review and offer some insight.
okay. Did everybody hear what Christy said?
Yep.
Okay. I like that idea, so we'll work with that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for presenting that. Ryan, do you have anything else?
I won't derail things any further. That is all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Then the next item on the agenda is new business. And we've had past discussions where we want to discuss possible rule changes. And I know that we've been reviewing them. Does anybody have any suggestions for any rule changes?
I have more of a comment. I don't know if I have a suggestion otherwise, but some of these rules were worded a little harshly. And I don't know the origin. We didn't used to have a set of rules with things like the public shall not be allowed to speak. So when I read that, I was a little taken aback at how that sounded. So I'm not sure.
Is that a specific number on the?
I don't remember which one it was, but it just the overall tone was, I don't know that we needed rules as opposed to more of our mission statement and some of those things. Just sort of a comment.
Okay, so a comment to maybe soften the language where that's specifically stated at this time.
I think so, and I didn't really understand the purpose of the rules. I mean, when we had the meetings previously, things went pretty well until they didn't. But maybe relooking at mission statements or what our goals might be would be more beneficial to move forward with than having a bunch of rules about the public can't talk to us. Just my overall opinion of how that felt.
Okay. Without specifics, I'm not, just to have to put my attention at a later time to go through it again, to speak to exactly what you're talking about. So I would be happy to look at that. So thank you for sharing. One thing that I did notice that I'd like to change is in section 4 of the meetings, under 1A, is to change the appointed times to 4:30. There has been challenges around the meeting time, and right now it's unfortunate, but Yoka is the only one cannot make the 4:30 meet time. And since it was just a one person, one off, it was really hard to make that concession for everybody to follow. So I do open for changing it to 4:30, officially going forward. And
I think it seems to be a good time. Staff is more available then instead of going into the evening. generally works for me, but we're not gonna build everything around that either. So we've got a lot of people here today, so that seems to be a pretty good time slot.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's important to have the support of the staff and to not keep staff late. When Christy and I spoke, we just found that an overall balance and fairness to the meeting time was to make it sooner. And that way,
Yeah.
not making that concession for just one person, unfortunately. We'll just see where that goes down the road. And then another one I thought of was on number 2 was the meeting place, just because now we're Zoom. And I guess to be official was to also add that into our wording. Just to make that change. Nothing major, it was just verbiage. And I didn't have any other ones. Ed, I seem to recall that you had some thought around either the rules or maybe it was on our marketing plan.
Yeah, it was marketing stuff, and I've been thinking about various things, and I'm wondering when would be a good time to bring them up. But there's a lot of I have a lot of interest in doing kind of more grassroots stuff here in Portland. I think that the online stuff is pretty much handled, and I don't know that much about print media, so I wouldn't want to delve into that. But I've been a parent. I've been living in Portland for a long time, and as you might know, I'm trying to eventually I'll be moving out to Yamhill County, out to Carlton, but I've got a kid in high school still. So one thing that I've noticed is that every year I am associated with my kids' school's auctions, and I always donate. I donate like a weekend at the house, and I usually go around to like Earth and Sea or Cuvée or somewhere, and I'll get like a gift certificate or a gift card or whatever, and they'll give me something, and then I'll kind of put it all together as a little package, and then I'll put it up for auction at the school to help the school raise money for the school. And those auctions are typically very successful, but they're often also attended by a lot of people who have the means to come out here and spend money and stay the night. So it's kind of a great grassroots way to expose hundreds, if not thousands of people every year to the idea that there's this fantastic little community right outside of town that they don't really necessarily know about. And so I was thinking it might be a good idea this fall, when a lot of the auctions get going, is to take, say, maybe 10 schools in Portland that are the bigger schools, and go to each of their auction coordinators and put together with them a contact here in Carlton that they can follow up with, and we can put maybe 10 auction items into 10 schools. Each auction is attended by 800 to 1,500 people. And even though you may only end up with 10 groups coming out here, the exposure that you get from that in terms of the amount of people that see it, the amount of people that want to do it, and then the friends that tell two friends effect, the network effect, it could be beneficial long term. It's something that you grassroots, you kind of start small and build. One thing about school auctions is if you donate something to them one year, they will be in touch with you next year.
Okay.
And so it kind of is perennial. It will keep coming back. They will keep coming back, and we can keep giving them those little giveaways. I mean, a $50 gift certificate to Cuvée or to Earth and Sea for 4 people to have dinner is barely going to cover the first round of drinks and maybe an appetizer.
Okay.
So
That's true.
they're going to spend money. They're going to spend money. We're not giving anything away, right? So it's a great way to get people from Portland to here. I'm a big believer, was something that was said earlier, was that Portland is a great place to advertise, because there's a large community of people that would love to come out here, and maybe they don't even know about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the tasting facilities, and Tyson, you can speak to this, have free tasting coupons or buy one get one tasting coupons. You could kind of create a small basket of little treasures like that. Yeah,
you could easily put that together with almost no effort.
Okay. Everybody, a lot of time, our meeting time is coming to an end. My thought would be, because I love your ideas, Ed, and what other ideas we will have, I think it'll be best to put them pen to paper and let's get them to Natalie, which she has requested in the past, so that way she can put all our ideas for us to review. And that way we can have a very focused conversation within our time frame to
Sure.
a vote as to what we think we want to make a change to our plan. So can everybody, for our next meeting, put together some ideas and get them submitted to Natalie so we can vote on those for next meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I like your idea too, Ed.
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
great.
good
I
plan.
love the whole, I know you're very strong in your grassroots. And with that, you were going to help us immensely. And then as everyone starts to get their ideas flowing and just goes forward with those ideas, I think we're going to have some really strong positive changes that we can see to our marketing plan.
Good.
Uh,
Excellent. Because one of the greatest thing about that is it doesn't cost any money. What I described costs nothing. So
Absolutely,
a little bit of legwork is all it is.
and that's great. That's something that we can, correct me if I'm wrong, Chrissy, it's something that we can keep to ourselves and not have to branch out to the business association.
Yeah, you would facilitate the request for those donations for
Okay.
whatever marketing you do.
Okay, that would be great. I love that even more. Okay. So the new business was also for the 22 budget review.
Oh, that's done.
That's done.
Yes,
Okay.
that
done.
was, yeah, needed to happen last meeting, so
Okay.
we proceeded.
So we discussed the outside city limits. Then we were going to work on getting our changes, our ideas into Natalie. I'll put out a text message in about a week to everybody just to keep us mindful of what we're trying to accomplish. So we can have that be a successful outcome next meeting, because I think that's really important for us to be able to go forward with those changes.
And Madam Chair, you cannot facilitate a conversation on text in a group, so it'd have to be individual. Or you can send an email and blind copy everybody in an email so that when they respond, it doesn't create a serial meeting.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah, it's all these new things. That's
Okay.
why I'm here for you today.
Thank you. So I can send out individual email or
You
individual
can.
texts?
Yes,
Okay.
but you can't do a group, because if they respond back, you just created a meeting without the public having the opportunity to attend.
Okay, I will be sending out either a email with the blank copy, or I'll send out an individual text reminding everybody to submit your ideas.
I like it.
Sounds good.
Wonderful.
And I look forward to a resolution on the innkeepers, Carlton adjacent innkeepers, we'll call them that. It's been on the plate a long time, and I think it would be a great source of revenue while keeping it fair for those within the limits. So
Thank
I
you.
agree.
I'll be sure to follow up with Christy on that for next steps to make sure we move forward on that.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. With that, are there any other comments? My comment is, I'm happy we were able to get together. We've had a few bumps in the past couple months for us to get together. So thank you. I feel like we got a lot done today, and I feel really positive about where we're going in the future. So thank you, everybody, for joining today.
thank
Thanks.
you. Nice job. Meeting
Thank you.
adjourned, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Gavel.
I gotta give her the gavel, she doesn't have it.
I loved it when I had it.
So with that, I vote, I just want to adjourn it.
Just, you can adjourn the meeting.
I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Mhm.